If anyone ever said you can't find a condo for less than $500,000 in Toronto, then check this out. A condo has surfaced on the market for $300,000, which at first sounds amazing, but the real question is if this condo unit is actually worth buying. So we're going to check out today and break down some of the costs in this video, coming right up. Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of the weekly Toronto real estate market update. My name is Fred Tam, and if this is your first time here, welcome to the channel. I'm here every single week giving you the best real estate tips and latest market updates. So consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. And today I'm going to focus a bit more on housing affordability issues in the city. And I've talked about this in past episodes where condos are known to be one of the more affordable housing options when it comes to purchasing real estate. In fact, condo prices are still down compared to the beginning of the year, even 5 months after the beginning of the pandemic impacted the housing market, which I'll go into more detail in this video. But one of the biggest questions is whether this $300,000 condo listed on the market is actually worth purchasing from the perspective of someone who would want to buy it and also live in it. Because let's be honest, this does seem a little too good to be true. And you might be thinking that, well, at $300,000, this can only be a studio apartment with no more than 400 square feet of living space. While surprisingly, this condo unit has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms with almost 1,400 square feet of living space. It even has a locker and parking included. And just to give you an idea of value on parking, some parking spots with new pre-construction condos will alone cost you $95,000 to purchase. That's a third of the asking price for this condo. Okay, so now that you've had a glimpse of the condo, think about why it's selling for only $300,000 and leave a comment below to share your thoughts. And before we get into the analysis of this unit, let's go over the market update to see how Toronto housing is trending, starting with freehold properties. Home prices are down for the second week in a row based on the latest stats available. The average home price fell another 2% at just over $1.4 million. This has been an interesting year so far because you can see that in a normal market like 2019, prices would have typically come down around this time compared to spring. But if you look at this year, spring and summer are basically reversed with prices rising overall. And despite the impacts of the pandemic that we're still experiencing right now, prices are still higher than last year. So essentially, not even a global pandemic can do enough to damage the Toronto housing market. But I shouldn't give all the credit to the resilience of Toronto's property market because the government and the banks did in fact play a huge role in supporting homeowners through various policy changes and programs. And these changes have allowed home sales to remain higher than expected. In fact, not only are sales higher than what they were this time last year, they're also higher compared to the beginning of the year before Canada's first reported case of the coronavirus. Sales are up 7% since last week with 363 freehold homes that sold based on the latest information available, and are also up 57% compared to this time last year. So if average home prices have fallen for 2 weeks in a row, then it makes sense to see more sales activity in the last 2 weeks as well, especially if housing supply has also been going up. We're currently at an all-time high this year for the number of new listings that hit the market. There was an increase of 22% from the previous week with 679 homes listed, which means that more and more people are putting their homes up for sale. But one thing to watch out for in this graph is the number of canceled listings, which are up 24% compared to the previous week. And my thought on this is that even though 203 listings were taken off the market last week, this isn't too alarming yet because there was equally a similar percentage increase of new listings, so that actually balances itself out. However, if we continue to see canceled listings rise, then it's something to keep in mind, especially if you're looking to get into the market. But what do you think will happen with Toronto real estate if a second wave of the coronavirus hits the country in the second half of this year? Because some countries like Australia, for example, that are currently going through their colder seasons are experiencing an increase in confirmed cases, and what's frightening is that it's looking much worse than their first wave. Leave your thoughts in the comments section and give this video a thumbs up if you're gaining some value and learning something new. Because if a second wave does in fact hit Toronto, even the condo market will feel some of the pressure, similar to what we saw earlier this year. When the pandemic hit Toronto, we saw average condo prices fall as much as 6% in some weeks, with the highest average at $746,000 and falling as low as $624,000. The average price last week was $687,000, so prices are going back up, but they're not nearly as high as they were before the pandemic and are relatively flat overall week over week. And if we saw another 17% drop at current prices, then it's possible we might see average condo prices fall anywhere between the low to mid $600,000 range, and this of course will have an impact on sales volume as well. Condo sales saw a bit of an increase since the previous this week, up 7% with 380 condos that sold, which is also right at what the sales were at this time last year as well. But as you can see, sales are actually down since both the peak earlier this year and during the recovering peak in July. And I think for anyone who is considering selling their condo in the fall, they should consider the following very carefully. Condo inventory has been going up. This is the sort of growth you wish you could only see in your stock portfolio. New condo listings are up 22% from the previous week, with 679 new listings. That's based on the most updated information available on MLS and is also the highest number of condos listed in a single week all year. So if condo listings are rising, you can expect a spiraling effect on condo prices and sales volume, and let me know in the comments if you agree. Because if the condo market is relatively flat overall with inventory rising, then is that the reason why this condo is listed for $300,000? Believe it or not, this condo is actually listed at its current market value, making it about $220 per square foot, which is incredibly low in Toronto for a condo unit. And I quickly calculated that a mortgage payment on this place based on 20% down, today's average interest rates, and a 25-year amortization period would be just over $1,000 per month, plus your other home expenses like insurance, utilities, cable, and internet. There's also property taxes, but they're barely $800 a year for this place. And now that all sounds good still, right? Well, here's what could make it a deal breaker for many potential home buyers. This $300,000 1,400 square foot condo with annual property taxes that are less than some people's monthly car payments also has a condo maintenance fee of just over $1,100 per month. And most traditional lenders are only going to use half of that when they're qualifying you for a mortgage, but even if you do qualify for a mortgage, you're instantly back up to around $2,500 per month for this home including all expenses. And if you do a bit of searching on MLS, then this is actually equivalent to purchasing a $500,000 condo in a different part of Toronto. The major difference when deciding where you're going to purchase will depend on how much you have available for your down payment if you're trying to get an uninsured mortgage, because the difference between the two price points is $40,000 in cash. So when you're looking to buy your next home, you definitely want to consider all expenses and compare the whole picture to what it would look like in another purchasing scenario to really understand what options are available to you. So now I hope that opens up your mind a bit, and now let's recap on the market stats from today. Home prices in the freehold market have been fluctuating around the same levels for several weeks, but are showing a slight downward trend for the past 2 weeks. Home sales came back up after a sharp decline, but I'd want to see some more consistency before giving an opinion on whether sales are going down or up. And overall, freehold home inventory is doing just fine with more inventory on the market than we saw earlier this year. Now with the condo market, prices were rising, but it looks as though they might have balanced out last week. Condo sales came back down after a spike in sales, but it's not enough to say yet whether it's in the red or the green. And condo listings are up higher than any time this year, leaving me with zero concerns on condo supply in the foreseeable future. But if we do get a second wave, then it's possible we might see another interesting and slow real estate market. And to stay updated on these changes, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for tuning in and taking the time to watch this week's update, and I'll see you guys next time.